A while ago, we spoke of a theory that Paul McCartney of Beatles fame in reality died in a car accident early on in their career, quickly replaced by a look-alike as to not devastate their fans. But what you may not know is that there's another theory closely connected to the Beatles that connects to Paul as dead. Could the members of the Beatles actually be part of the occult?
During the 1950s, when rock and more provocative music began to rise in the United States, a fear of corruption of children and Satanism followed. From the early days of Elvis and his hip gyrations, to the more modern Marilyn Manson and his supposedly satanic messages, people will continue to claim ill will from the popular people in our culture. The Beatles were one group as well that got criticism for their music and supposed hidden messages within their lyrics.
Backmasking was a major fear of many at the time. Backmasking means that there are messages that can be heard when reversing the audio of music. A very famous example being Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven, which supposedly spoke of satanic things when played in reverse. For the Beatles, a song like Revolution 9 comes to mind. Like we spoke of originally in episode 1, number 9 can be reversed to find the message, "Turn Me On, Dead Man," among other things like explosions and screaming.
Most examples of backmasking in Beatles songs were experimental, such as at the end of the hit single, Rain. John speaks in an almost foreign-like language, but when the audio is reversed, he's simply singing verse 1 of the same song backwards. Not only did the Beatles use backmasking on their vocals, they also used it on instruments too.
Such as in the case of the song "I'm Only Sleeping," off the album Revolver. The song features an otherworldly guitar solo which plays in reverse. This is the same as the song Tomorrow Never Knows, which also features a reversed guitar solo.
Another infamous example of backmasking within Beatles albums comes from Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. A minute after the end of a day in the life, a startling chant and loud noises start. A chanting voice shouts "Never could be any other way." When this is reversed, you can almost clearly hear "We'll all be magic supermen."
We'll all be magic supermen. What exactly is that supposed to mean if it was even intentional? This is where much of the disturbing rumors of the occult and satanic connections comes from when it comes to the Beatles. Could the members of the Beatles be hiding their dark secrets within their music?
The Beatles were at the time the most famous people in the world, surely having some power. Even John Lennon controversially said that the Beatles were bigger than Jesus. Could it have been a poor choice of words, or a proclamation?
It's a famous urban legend that many famous rock artists found their fame through a deal. At the crossroads where the devil resides, one can sell their soul to him for fame and fortune, for a price of course. Enter the original theory. Could Paul McCartney have died so young due to the deal? Maybe they replaced him just to keep the fortune going. Far-fetched, maybe.
Speaking of selling one's soul, an alternate theory is that the Beatles themselves were part of the fabled Illuminati, like many other popular people. Could their music be used to indoctrinate young people into the world of the occult? Probably not. There is little to no evidence of their involvement in the secret society, other than out-of-context clips and pictures of them goofing around.
In all seriousness, much of the supposed evidence of the Beatles' involvement in the occult practices come from crackpot theorists who take anything as evidence to how they think. What could be considered as true are facts that could be much darker. The Beatles and their drug abuse, and what it could have done to them and to the people around them.
Especially in Sgt. Pepper, and so on, the members of the band were using psychedelics such as LSD, which strongly directed their music style for the rest of the band's discography. A well-known theory, of course, being Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds being a nod to LSD, although this one is actually pretty unlikely, as John Lennon claimed that the song was inspired by a drawing his son Julian drew. The actual Beatles song about LSD is Tomorrow Never Knows from the album Revolver. Magical Mystery Tour in particular is clearly influenced by the drug, however.
There is an extremely obscure story that follows the album Magical Mystery Tour. Apparently 3 people were mailed an envelope and stamps. Within the envelope is a message claiming that they could use the stamps to get a ticket to go on the Magical Mystery Tour. Long story short, the stamps were laced with LSD, causing the 3 people to trip out. Conveniently, all 3 were inversely damaged to the point where they couldn't give more details.
Where the story comes from, and were the Beatles involved in the LSD stamps, who knows? Gabe isn't even sure where he heard the story, just something he saw in a video which stuck with him. In truth, the story is most likely not true, just like the claims of occult practices. Magical Mystery Tour was also laced, get it, with songs inspired by the drug. The songs I Am the Walrus and the unincluded It's All Too Much were written under heavy drug use.
There were no occult practices, and there were no drug lacings. At the end of the day, the Beatles were a band that wanted to break out of the mold of who they were known for and become something new. At the very most, they were people who abused drugs just like so many other people at the time.
Let's face it, drug use was extremely common in bands throughout the 60s, 70s, and even 80s. Artists such as Bob Dylan, The Who, Aerosmith, and pretty much every other band abused drugs. The Beatles just seemed to be extra verbal about their use.
This in turn caused more and more people to craft rumors about the Beatles and their drug use. To top it off, the Beatles didn't really have the best reputation after John's bigger than Jesus statement. People were probably looking for more reasons to hate them.
Very true. Cultists or not, they're still a great band. Stay curious.
Join us again next time when we once again go obscure.